Good morning. I'm Chester Cedars, Parish President. I want to discuss the recent billings that have been sent to the residents in St. Martin Parish by Pelican Waste and debris associated with the waste disposal services. And if you could bear with me for a moment, I want to go over the history of our contract with Pelican. I believe that will serve as a good base for my concluding remarks, which are going to address specifically what do you do with the recent billings, since they reflect an unexpected increase in the services for which Pelican has contracted with the parish. We begin with the fact that our contract with our previous provider, Waste Management, expired in 2019. One of the reasons the parish went out for what we call request for proposal on the eve of the expiration of that contract was that parish government, the taxpayers, were losing $25,000 to $30,000 per month on the waste disposal services. What was happening was that the water companies throughout the parish were billing on behalf of Waste Management in the parish, and then the parish would get a bill from Waste Management, and it didn't match up. The amount that the water companies were collecting were, as I reflected earlier, $25,000 to $30,000 less per month. So that money was coming from the general fund. One. Secondly, many people who live in the municipalities with a separate service was having to supplement that $30,000 per month deficit. It was a very ineffective and inefficient method of providing services. So after a discussion with Waste Management, it was decided back in the latter part of 2018, the first part of 2019, that it would be necessary to go out for what we call requests for proposals to bid the new contract. And of course, it was my belief at the time that Waste Management would probably win that bid, since they were already well established in the parish. Unfortunately, my expectations did not materialize, and I won't get into what all occurred. Suffice it to state that Pelican, the current provider, was awarded the new contract beginning July 1, 2019. It is a 5-year contract. I did not recommend Pelican. I recommended, after I looked at all the other companies that had submitted requests for proposals, that we stay with Waste Management. Simply put, they were a better fit for the parish. And I think their price was very competitive as well. Unfortunately, the parish council at that time, we have a new council now, rejected my recommendation. The ultimate decision to grant a franchise for waste disposal services rests with the parish council. Therefore, the contract with Pelican commenced on July 1, 2019. Issues surfaced from day one. Within the first week of the new contract, we had Hurricane Barry that struck our area. There were problems with the distribution of the new Pelican containers. There were issues with billing. I did not believe that the new provider, Pelican, understood the massive size of St. Martin Parish. We have over 400 miles of roads, not including the lower part of our parish. And of course, as the years went by, some of these issues were resolved, many were not, and many continue to this day. Then we have to factor in the pandemic in 2020. Of course, what we have done here in parish government is we've closely monitored the performance of all of our contractors, including Pelican. The issues that we faced with the new provider, beginning, as I said earlier, on July 1, 2019, did not abate. So on May 5th of this year, I had a meeting with Pelican officials, one of many meetings, and at that time it was agreed that it would be in everyone's best interest that St. Martin Parish government and Pelican terminate their contract early. And it was a good faith discussion. Thereafter, on May 17th, 2021, we met again with Pelican officials, and I brought to that meeting 3 of our council representatives so that we could jointly develop what I call an exit plan, a termination agreement. We discussed the termination date. We all wanted the termination date to be October 1 of this year. For reasons I will explain later, that could not happen. And we talked about the service parameters from that time in May until the end of the contract. Ultimately, there was a very lengthy meeting on June 24th, 2021, which included myself, the parish attorney, members of our administrative staff, together with Pelican's attorneys, our attorney was one, and Pelican officials. And at that point, we confected an agreement in principle that included that the parish would waive its franchise fee for the remainder of the term of the contract. We agreed the contract would terminate on January 1, 2022. And the parish said, look, we would aid you, Pelican, in collecting any delinquent debts that you may have and straightening out some of your billing issues so that we could identify true delinquencies. At no time during that very lengthy meeting, and at times acrimonious meeting, did we ever address a rate increase. As a matter of fact, it was fully everyone's understanding when we walked out of that meeting that except for the areas that we had discussed, the contract would remain as is until its termination. On July 6, 2021, we awarded the new contract to Waste Connections, which is the 3rd largest waste disposal provider in the country. That contract was formally and officially signed on August 10, 2021. In a previous post several weeks ago, I talk about that new contract, and I invite you to visit that post for the terms and conditions of the new service. Everything was proceeding, I thought, in fairly well, except for service issues that we were experiencing with Pelican until August 16th of this year. On that date, I received a letter from Pelican Waste and Debris. That letter advised that there would be an increase of 12% from $21.20 per resident to $23.72. And the rate increase was premised upon what's called the CPI, Consumer Price Index, which is a formula set forth in the contract. That is a standard provision of all of these contracts. My immediate response when I got that letter was, no. We had made an agreement on June 24th in principle. I immediately contacted the parish attorney and instructed him to contact the Pelican attorney and go over these issues that I had with the new billing. I had several issues I wanted to address. Number one, why the increase? Number two, how did they arrive at this 12% increase? I couldn't understand or decipher the formula, how it computed to 12%. And again, I referred to our June 24th meeting. Now, on August 24th, while our attorney was discussing these issues with the Pelican Council, I wrote a letter myself and emailed it to the general manager of Pelican, with whom we've always dealt. And I stated quite clearly in that letter, and I quote, I do not approve of a rate increase. And significantly, the letter I received from Pelican on August 16th concludes with this comment in the very last paragraph. The new rate upon your approval will be effective July 1, 2021. My response, do not approve of the rate increase right off the bat. Then I voiced concerns about the increase being made retroactive to July 1. I didn't think it was, one, fair, and two, probably had some legal issues. And of course, in that letter, I asked for validations of this 12% increase. How did you compute it? And then I concluded that letter, and I quote, "Currently, our attorneys are discussing this particular matter, and I trust that a resolution will soon be forthcoming. In the meantime, you may accept this correspondence as formal notification that, on behalf of St. Martin Parish government, I do not approve of any modification of rates." The response I received to that transmittal was on the evening of September 2nd, 2022, when I was notified by a member of our staff that a Facebook post had been submitted to the parish wanting to know why the bill that resident just received reflected an increase of 12% retroactive to July 1, 2021. And of course, that call and those comments have grown proportionately and quite severely, and I can understand why. So, with that background, I think I need to address some of the questions that have been posed to me directly, some of the questions that have been posed to our staff directly, and questions that we have received via our social media. The first, can Pelican increase the rates? Technically, yes, under the contract that we have, because again, this is a standard contract. However, we're dealing with a special set of circumstances here because we have agreed with Pelican that we would terminate this contract December 31, 2021. I'll refer to our meeting with their council on June 24th of this year. During that meeting, again, I don't want to be redundant, but during that meeting, no mention of a modification of rates. Second, I don't understand how, again, this rate was calculated. So, I need to point out this. If Pelican is going to increase their rates for the last 3 months of this contract, some capitulations that we made on June 24th will not be honored. I'm going to expect Pelican to do certain things, such as compensate for missed routes, service issues, as well as payment of franchise fees. It was my hope and expectation that we could shake hands and walk away from the contract without this kind of controversy. The second question, of course, I referenced, is this increase properly calculated? What we're currently doing right now is I'm having a staff member contact various communities in our area that are serviced by Pelican to determine if they receive notification of rate modifications under their contracts, which have that provisions. Most of them have, but nowhere near a 12% increase. One community, 79 cents increase. One community, a 3% increase. One community, a 1.57 increase. So I want to reconcile those differences before I make any final comment. And none of those communities have the increase been retroactive. Let me make that clear. Again, I'm in the process of verifying those numbers I just gave you. And I'm not going to mention the communities because this was told to me orally. I want things in writing. Retroactivity? I think not. This leads to the next question that I've heard from many residents. Well, what do we do? Do we pay? That is a very tough question for me to answer because when you don't pay bills, there's ramifications, even though you may have a basis for not paying the bill. I would not pay retroactively. Now, I'm making that comment probably contrary to the advice the parish attorney told me. But I will tell the public I would not pay any rate increase for July or August. I would ask that you entertain payment of the $250 per month increase for the final 3 months if you can afford it. I think that will avoid a lot of headaches for you. And I get it if you don't. I get it and I understand. I think that computes to about $12.50 for those, or $7.50 for those 3 months, $7.50 total. But in any case, I'm going to continue to explore this, and some of you may wish just to hold off on payment of your bill for a week or so till I can hopefully get to the bottom of this and hopefully resolve it. But I can assure you, this is not something parish government wanted. This is not something I wanted. As I alluded to earlier, it was my hope and expectation that we would shake hands with Pelican and each go our separate ways. Not for my benefit, not for Pelican's benefit, but for the benefit of the public. Having said that, I don't want to be controversial, but I want to be treated fairly. And I want the residents of this parish to be treated fairly, even if it's only $2.50 a month. So I thank you. I will continue to pursue these issues and keep you informed.